Hello and welcome back to the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. I am your host, Nick Parker. This time is always the right time to remind people that this podcast is brought to you by Budget Blinds of Lee Summit, your home for signature series shades. They're also your home for those robot shades. When you're ready to have your blinds open by your Alexa device, your Apple, Google, whatever you have, just say, hey, Google, open those shades. And they happen. Budget Blinds is our robot shade overlords. They're a great local company run by a great local family, very involved in the community. If you're ready to make your home an awesome home, go see Budget Blinds right in downtown. Tell them Nick sent you. Today on the show, we are looking back a little bit to a week ago. We had the fourth of our nonprofit Spotlight Lunch series. Our featured guests this time around was Meals on Wheels of Lee Summit, and they're back in the vault. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Meals on Wheels and what all they do, and just featuring another of our great local nonprofits and what they're doing. Welcome, board members Terry Kincheloe, Susan Newsome, I think your second time on the podcast.
Yes.
And operations director Jenni Edwards. Welcome to the show, guys.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Thank you.
Let's start off with the easy, the softball questions, and then Vanessa Hickman's back with me because, I don't know, she felt like she wanted to be mean to me or something. Here. We'll start with the softball question before she gets in with the mean questions. Just a little background of Meals on Wheels of Lee Summit and who you serve. I'm going to let Jenni jump in.
Okay.
The paid professional.
Right. That's my job. We serve the elderly and disabled here in Lee Summit and Lake Lotawana and Greenwood. So folks who just need assistance getting their meals, maybe they can't make them themselves. Maybe they can't get out to get groceries, stand in the kitchen, clean the dishes, things like that, and just need a little bit of help.
How are people kind of getting into that system? So is it anyone who needs a meal, or is it an age requirement? Is it a medical thing? Who are those people, and how do they kind of get into the system?
Sure. There's no financial requirement. There's no age requirement. It's primarily seniors, but we also have others just in the community that have heard about us who have family members, or they hear about us from maybe their doctors, or maybe they're coming out of a rehab system and maybe they had shoulder surgery and can't, do the meal process for themselves. And so they get in touch with us and give us a call, and we can get them signed up. So there's no, like hard and fast requirements for age or finances, but primarily seniors, but also disabled in the community who need assistance.
So it really is a program based solely on need.
Yeah.
Susie, you've been on before, so I'm going to ask you probably to repeat what you did. And you were probably one of the first 10 guests when this show started back in 2016. So 800 some episodes later, you're back.
I remember.
Yeah, we actually have a studio now. I think we were in
upstairs downtown.
Yeah, we were in somebody's conference room.
Yeah, and I think it was your first podcast.
It was one of the
live.
First ones. Yeah. But talk about the history of and how this organization got started, and maybe what it was trying to do then and how it's evolved to now.
So Lois Elbell and Linda Dempsey were two Lee Summit residents. They still are Lee Summit residents, very involved in the community. Lois worked at the Red Cross office, which was located at the corner of 2nd and Douglas, right next door to the fire station. And Linda is the wife of Dr. Herb Dempsey Sr., who at the time was still practicing in Lee Summit. And so both of them were very plugged into the health and welfare of Lee Summit, first of all. The second thing that happened was Lois's elderly mother needed more family attention. And Lois went back to South Bend, Indiana, where her mother lived, where Lois grew up, and packed her up and brought her to Lee Summit to live with her for the rest of her days. And I believe she lived to be, probably around 100, actually. But anyway, her mother was getting meals every day delivered to her door by an organization called Meals on Wheels. And so it just kind of planted the seed in her mind. And she literally brought that back to Lee Summit, got together with Linda and a couple other ladies that got together, and they started delivering meals out of Lee Summit Hospital at the time to 15 clients, and in September of 1974. And today we have delivered over 650,000 meals, and we have, gosh, Jenny can correct me, probably 140-ish clients. And these are people, as Jenny said, that are rehabbing or need the help every day of the week for an extra meal. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine at the Lee Summit Symphony concert last Saturday night. I was checking about her mother, and her mother is sharp as a tack. She's in her early 90s, and I think she's still driving. But her mobility-wise, she's declining. And so the daughter is starting to cook for her mom. Daughter's still working. So that's another whole category of people that get meals. It's giving their adult children a break, not to mention the safety check. And we'll probably get into that more later. But back to the history. Lois, we had our 50th anniversary last September, and Lois just shook her head and she said, I never thought it would last this long. And she it's just so taken back and touched.
Why do you guys, and this is for any of the three of you, but why do you think it has lasted this long? Like what's allowed that to work?
The generosity of the Lee Summit community. Since day one and to date, the organization does not receive any federal funding. And so we literally rely on grants, local grants, and the generosity of businesses, individuals in the community here in Lee Summit. And that's literally what's kept it going.
And I would say, along with the funding piece, is volunteers. I always say this is one of the groups I've never had to, try to twist your arm to volunteer. Everyone wants to volunteer about as much as I'll let them. We have 15 routes every day that we have covered by a regular weekly driver. And if they're out of town or they're sick, then we have over 50 substitute drivers probably who can fill in. So people are very generous with their time as well.
What organizationally feeds into that a little bit? Because running any organization, let alone a nonprofit, a service org, for that long is hard. And to keep people engaged, to keep people involved, and then also, it's been 50 years. You've had to go recruit new people to be involved as well. So organizationally, how does that work?
Actually, Lois and Linda both worked consistently with the organization until they were both well into their 80s. And that's amazing. There was a lot of consistency there. But like Jenny said, just people coming forth and wanting to volunteer. And the whole structure of the day-to-day operations have totally changed since we hired Jenny, because what she brings to the organization is consistency. And that's a win-win for Lee Summit Medical Center and for us, because we have the same routine every morning. And prior to Jenny, we had volunteers that we called them day captains, and they were in charge of each day, different one each day of the week. And, humans are different. We have different routines, we have different styles, and different ways we look at things. And like I said, she has brought wonderful consistency to the organization structure.
Well, and I like to say I try to make it as easy as possible for folks to volunteer. So if you're volunteering, then you're going to know your route. If you are a regular volunteer, you're going to know that if you are on vacation or sick, we're able to find someone for you. So it's not hard to commit to that weekly route, knowing that if you need time off, it's going to be fine and your people will be taken care of.
I'm going to shift over to Terry because he thinks he can hide over there in the corner and not say a word.
And actually, before you do that, I was going to chime in and say, a lot of the growth of this organization, you can thank these two ladies. Susie has been such a critical point and a member of the board for so many years, well over a decade. And Jenny coming in has really just formalized the operation to a degree that really it has never seen before. So kudos to both of them for what they've been doing.
I started out in Lee Summit as a sports writer, so I owe a lot of gratitude to Susie because she got me indoors a lot early in my career.
We met way back. Yeah, Nick and I got way back.
When she was up at the high school. Terry, you are. I mean, as far as I know, we just met in probably the last year or so. So I'm assuming you're new-ish in comparison to Susie with the organization. What drew you in?
Well, for starters, Susie's a really good salesperson, right? So
you were voluntold.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
no, exactly. No, I had rolled off of another board here in Kansas City with Jackson County CASA, and Susie and I were at an event, and she recruited me right there as I was rolling off that board, and kind of sold me on the mission here in Lee Summit and how long the organization had been here. And she's just a great leader, and it was a pretty easy sell.
That's a solid move, Susie. Just to stand at the door as they go off of other boards. I just imagine her with like a big net.
Yeah, he told me he was rolling off the board, and he wanted to he and his wife and Cheryl and family live in Lee Summit, and he wanted to get involved in a Lee Summit nonprofit. And I said, well, I've got something for you. So I put my Meals on Wheels hat on, and we started talking.
That's great, and I love hearing that people. I want to get involved. I want to do something in the town where I live. Other than that, was there anything about this group and the mission that really pulled you in, or is it kind of you went in, you followed Susie, and then you found it?
Yeah, no. So one of the great challenges of Meals on Wheels is I think everyone to a certain extent thinks they know what it is. Right, it plays such a vital role in the community of delivering nutritious meals to seniors. But what so many people don't realize is that it is so much more. And so when you start peeling back the onion of, gosh, what other benefit does it create in the community? You start looking at the health checks, the value of being that one person, that volunteer, they may be the only person that client sees all day long. And then when you really start understanding the issues and challenges isolation creates for the health of seniors, it's so much more than just the meal. And those are the things that really kind of triggered my attention of, gosh, the meal's important, but all of these things are equally as important.
How hard is it to, and again, I'll put this to either of the three of you, to tell that part of the story, to remind people that it's not just delivering a box of food, that it is that personal interaction. I know you guys hit on that some last week at the luncheon, but like, is it hard to tell that part of the story, or to remember to tell that part of the story because you're so involved in everything else?
Back to my conversation I had with a friend last Saturday night. Her mother's struggling. Her mobility is declining. And I asked if she's cooking. She said not really. And so the daughter is still working. The daughter is cooking extra food and taking it to mom. And I said, this is where we can help you, the daughter. And when she understood that she could get a couple meals a week for her mom just to give her a break, or every weekday, her eyes just opened, and she just, the light bulb came on, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And I said, just as important as the meal, as Terry just mentioned, is somebody knocking on the door, checking in on them. Because we have a strict policy with our drivers that deliver the meals that if the client doesn't come to the door or answer the phone, we find out why. And unfortunately, sometimes they've fallen, have to be transferred to the hospital. One client just didn't seem right, and our driver got emergency help for them, called Jenni, and he is in a long-term, he was having a stroke.
Oh, wow.
And they got him to the hospital, and unfortunately, he's in long-term care now, but fortunately, he's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are stories that people don't expect.
Right. But, my point was, this is also really helping adult children take care of their parents. It's giving them a break from cooking all the meals. I put my own father on Meals on Wheels because he had stopped cooking in the time it took us to find an assisted living facility for him.
I think that's an important thing to bring up is helping take care of your parents, the generation before that's aging. I like to sarcastically joke a lot that, look, I have a special needs sister that lives with us. I have a teenager, and then we have the olds. And sometimes I think raising the olds is harder.
It is. It is. I have a question. Are all the Meals on Wheels affiliated or just different branches?
So that's a great question. The answer is no. So Meals on Wheels of Lee Summit is a member of Meals on Wheels America. We just joined, actually, 4, 5, maybe 6 years ago. The nice thing is a lot of communities have a service similar to Meals on Wheels. They may even use the name, but they may not be affiliated with Meals on Wheels America. We made the decision to consciously join that organization several years back. One, primarily so we could leverage their branding and really take advantage of some of the things that they do nationwide, like the Subaru Share the Love event, for example, gets a lot of national TV coverage. It also has opened up for us exposure to new grant opportunities and things that they make available throughout the country. But no, and that's actually, there's a lot of variance from Meals on Wheels organizations across the country and even the metro as far as their size, scale, services offered. So definitely some variance.
Are there organizational benefits as well as the marketing and grant that side of things? I mean, is there some help there too on you have one staff member, Jenni, who's sitting over there, and I just can't imagine juggling all of that as one. I mean, so are there some organizational benefits that come as well, or?
Yeah,
or is she just totally awesome?
Well,
she
is. I mean, that goes without saying. She is totally awesome. But what it has done is open up some relationships with other Meals on Wheels organizations, some best practices. We were just commenting the other day. There's one of the largest Meals on Wheels organizations in the country's Meals on Wheels of San Antonio that operates the entire metro of San Antonio with a new 5,000 square foot facility that they use to prepare food. They have their own delivery vehicles, so it's kind of this enormous model that is pretty uncommon, but we're again able to take some best practices and things. We started, for example, using a software program years ago that was developed by another Meals on Wheels owner somewhere in the East Coast. So they developed a process and a method to make it more efficient for delivering meals and capturing information about clients that we've adopted. So there's certainly been some operational benefits.
You just mentioned food prep when you were talking about the San Antonio one. You partner here locally with one of the local hospitals. Can you talk a little bit about that partnership and what it does for you?
Yeah.
I like watching people when they're debating. Do I get to do it or do you?
Yeah. So we've been partners with Lee Summit Medical Center since the beginning, and they're amazing. I just on my operational level, I go in there every morning and communicate with the cooks and the food director and the chef, and we kind of collaborate on the menu, and they cook all the food for us and we help assemble it. But they are really, really helpful when it comes to different client dietary needs that we can accommodate. So right now we have vegetarians, we have a vegan client, we have gluten-free clients, but it's also nice to be able to tell families that, we can do a regular diet for your mom or dad, but if something changes, we can adjust. So if they start having trouble chewing, then we can even do like pureed food because that's something that's available to us from the hospital. Or if they lose some mobility in their arms and hands, the hospital will cut up the meat for them. So it's really unique, a really unique partnership, and they're really, really helpful and accommodating and valuable to us, and we love working with them in the kitchen.
I didn't realize that partnership had been around since the beginning. I thought that was a relatively newer relationship, but that's interesting.
Isn't that amazing? It's awesome.
Is that unique to other Meals on Wheels programs around the country?
Yes, in the Kansas City area, North Kansas City Hospital has a Meals on Wheels program that works out of the hospital. And I believe in Columbia, Missouri, there's a Meals on Wheels that gets their food from a hospital. To my knowledge, we are the only Meals on Wheels in the whole Kansas City metro area that as Jenny said, that can customize some of those meals for vegetarians, for vegans, any dietary program that they're on. It's very unique.
My question is, what does it look like to be a volunteer? So, like, what's the process, and then what does my daily volunteering look like?
Sure.
By the way, you can hook her here. You can get Vanessa right now.
I will take
I hate to
you.
drive, so I cannot.
Hey, you can help out in the
Tomorrow
kitchen.
morning.
Some people, we kind of have two sets of volunteers. We have our kitchen volunteers and we have our drivers. So you're not cooking if you're a kitchen volunteer, but you're helping assemble meals. And I like to tell people, you can help out weekly or you can help out just as a substitute, which is generally like a couple times a month. And it's when I will reach out and say, hey, can you deliver next Thursday? And if you can, great. If you can't, you're still on my list and I'll reach out in the future. So we'll keep you involved as much and as little as you can. But the volunteer time is in the mornings. And so the kitchen volunteers come in, obviously before the drivers do. But a route probably takes an hour on average to deliver. And so it's not, a huge time commitment, but it's a really meaningful one. And we have, you have to be 18 years old to do either, but we have some families that'll volunteer and have their, kids in the back seat, or the kids are the ones that kind of run up to the door. Right now we have a consistent little 3-year-old who helps out on Fridays with his mom in the back seat, and he just chit chats with us when they come pick up the meals.
That's awesome. I think that's a great question to ask about what volunteer experience is like, and I want to ask kind of about all of those things. Right? I used to have a friend who always talked about, as a nonprofit, you're asking for time, treasure, or talent, right? So how can those people, what are you looking for? I guess for people who want to be involved either as a volunteer or maybe a donor, like your nonprofit, you will always take checks. Or if you're looking for some certain brains to come help you as you continue to grow. So what are you looking for? How can people get involved?
We are always looking for people that want to get involved. I always tell people that we're marketing first and foremost for awareness, because Lee's Summit is now 110,000, maybe more than that now. And even though we've been around for 50 years, there's still people that haven't heard of Meals on Wheels. And the gal that I was talking to Saturday night, she thought it was only for people without money and very old. Wow. And that's totally not the case. So awareness is so important. Those people rehabbing, even if we've had clients that are, say, in their 50s, late 50s, early 60s, and they've had surgery and they're rehabbing. They live alone. They don't have anybody here to help them. And they just need a little bit of help while they rehab until they get on their feet. And they're a candidate for Meals on Wheels. So that awareness piece, again, is so important. We're always looking for volunteers. Jenny has a healthy base of over 20 subs, and she uses them regularly because you never know. One morning she may have 2 drivers that have had life happens that morning and they can't drive, and you got to find somebody right away. And some drivers, they know 2 weeks from now they can't deliver on a Friday, so she can get somebody set up. And obviously, yes, we're here 50 years because of the generosity, financial generosity of this community. So we are always welcoming donations. We subsidize probably about 20% of our clients, and that right now is running an average of around $20,000 a year that it costs us. So I think people also need to know what our expenses are. Obviously, we have a full-time employee now, and we have subsidy program that we need to support. So, and there's the day-to-day operations.
Sometimes I think that's a hard story to tell, right? Like, we don't want to. I think we've been raised not to talk about the expenses side of it, especially as a nonprofit. But I think we have to. We have to remind people that it takes a lot.
For sure.
A lot to put it out. Go ahead.
Well, I was also going to say, we also value our partnerships in the community. So if you are interested in helping out our organization, but you can't, like the weekdays don't work for you, then are you a part of a church that we could come, speak to one of your groups about? Are you crafty and want to make placemats or seasonal cards for our clients that we can put on meals? Do you have connections that you can help us just get our name out there? And I think that's just another way if you can't, because sometimes, weekdays don't work for everybody. So.
Well, that actually leads to what my next question really was going to be. One of the purposes of our lunch series is to get some community leaders and business leaders in the room and allow organizations like you to tell your story. When you are out and you're talking to businesses and business people around the town, what are you looking for? How can a business partner up and be of service to what your mission is? I'm going to ask Terry to answer that one because I feel like he hasn't talked enough.
Yeah, no. Well, so I think there's a number of ways, and I think we're doing a better job as a board kind of looking at other ways we can get folks involved to help us beyond the really important things like delivering the meals and preparing the meals. And we've recently added some new board members that have some financial experience that can help us with some of our, everything from accounting to balancing the books. We're always looking for new ideas from people that are in the marketing space that could come in and help us spread the word for Meals on Wheels, and maybe people that have digital marketing backgrounds and some things like that they could come in and also assist us. But I think when we look at some of I think about All Bloom and the work that Bella Fiore has done here locally and helping donate flowers that we will deliver with meals occasionally to brighten the day of seniors. I mean, to see them light up when those types of kind of in-kind donations are made, I mean, that goes a long way in brightening the day because, again, I mean, our volunteers generally the only person that a lot of our clients see each and every day. So when they have that one little extra craft or that one little extra flower or cookie or whatever it might be, it makes a world of difference. So we like the challenge and the enjoyment of working with businesses and thinking of different and new, unique ways to get them involved. And as you mentioned, we'll always welcome the donations.
always.
I have a question about what happens when the weather is bad, because we've had some snowy days this past winter. So what does that mean for the drivers? What does that mean for those who are receiving meals? How do they eat?
Right. We have a program called Emergency Meals, and it's an awesome program. What we do is we package non-perishable food, enough food for 5 meals, and we put them in bags and we deliver them to all of our clients sometime in the month of November, about mid-November, so they can have that during those inclement weather days. Those bags are provided by a valuable partner, a longtime partner now in Lee Summit, the Lee Summit Subaru dealership. And actually, back to the subject of Meals on Wheels America, that is how that partnership was created, because we participate in the Subaru Share the Love program. And where Subaru Corporation actually donates money for cars that are sold or leased, and Meals on Wheels is picked as the nonprofit to be donated to. So Subaru provides all those bags, and we have volunteers that get the food and pack the bags and give them out. So we want our drivers to be safe, and we look at the weather. We have a huge text every those mornings that
morning.
were like, what do you think? I walked out on my porch. It's really bad. What do you think? My porch is okay. So, and we make a decision.
Yeah, and we have to think about, so our clients are primarily homebound, right? So they're not getting out on their sidewalks to clear the sidewalk, nor do we want them to feel like they have to. So if the roads, generally we follow Lee Summit School District, but we kind of, use our discretion as well. So if the roads aren't safe for our drivers, we also, think about sidewalks as well. But knowing that they have those meal bags gives us some peace of mind. And we put instructions with those bags for them to keep them in case we have to cancel. And this past January was
crazy.
Yeah,
crazy
we-
weather-wise.
I think
So-
we had 5.
And
We used
there were
all
some
5.
clients that we ended up giving we had some leftover emergency meal bags. So we gave them an extra bag because we knew they were especially food insecure, and we wanted to make sure, it's still the end of January, anything can happen. So we want to make sure they have food available. So makes us feel better, and especially makes our drivers feel better knowing that their people have food available.
Do they do a good job of following those directions? Because I probably would eat them.
I'm gonna see a box of mac and cheese
Right,
in
I'm
there.
like, you know what? I might have a little extra.
We'll take those crackers.
It happens. It happens, and that's why, like she said, we give some extra food to some of the people that are especially food insecure. Yeah.
Yeah, fighting temptation would be hard.
Right. Like when you go
I know.
on a road trip and they make lunch and you eat it the first hour.
Yeah.
Yep.
So have you guys had any famous drivers? I saw the mayor drove.
Yep, and
Anyone else?
we've had the mayor several times. We do a promotion that we got involved with through Meals on Wheels America called March for Meals, and so the mayor comes out he's been super supportive. Every March delivers for us. We have a couple city council members who are volunteers for us, Faith and Mia, and we also last September had a connection to the Royals, and we've had Michael Massey and Coach Keone Duren. Is that right?
That's right.
They delivered for us in September, and it was so super fun. And they passed out meals to drivers, and then they went on to deliver probably 2 or 3 houses, and they were just amazing. It was such a cool day.
That's awesome.
And they enjoyed it. They're like, wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, as we start to wrap up here, if people want to volunteer, they want to sign someone up. And actually, before I ask where to go, I want to ask this one because we haven't really talked. You mentioned at the very beginning you serve Lee Summit and Greenwood, kind of the school district boundaries. But if someone maybe is just outside, are there options? Are there how do people get to you?
You can go to our website, mealsonwheelsls.org. You can call us, 816-743-4400. If you're unsure, if you're in our boundaries, call us. I've got a whole list of surrounding Meals on Wheels programs that I can refer you to. And if you're, we can sometimes work with you if you're just barely out of our, boundaries, but we have to make sure that it'll work for our routes. But, call us. We'll get you where you need to go.
And that website, that's for if you want to sign up. If you want to sign up a family member or a friend or a neighbor. If you want to volunteer and get involved. One more time, the website and the phone number.
mealsonwheelsls.org. Our number is 816-743-4400. There's 5 extensions. You can pick the one, but pretty much just goes to me. So I'll get back to you. Just leave a message.
That sounds great. Well, yeah.
Another thing I was going to say, we go to Lake Lotawana as well. And some history there. We've only gone to Lotawana and Greenwood maybe in the last 5 years because we just didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the volunteers to get out there. So that is another reason why it's so important to volunteer if you have a little extra time. When COVID hit, we really got a lot of extra calls for volunteers because a lot of people were working from home. They had a little bit of extra time, and they were desperate to get out. And a lot of those people are still driving today. And it also brought a lot of younger people out to volunteer as well. And like Jenny mentioned, they bring in their kids, their dogs.
Lots of Meals on Wheels dogs.
Lots of dogs.
Well, I think that says a lot for the organization that people will stick around. You volunteer for a little bit and you make it a part of your life.
Oh yeah, we have a volunteer who's retiring this week, and he's delivered for us for 10 years. I mean, that's not unusual. I've been with the organization for 4.5 years, and a lot of our volunteers have been there much longer than I have. So people really love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Susie, Jenny, Terry, thank you. Appreciate you guys coming out. Appreciate all the work you're doing around the community.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Vanessa.
You're welcome.
Well, before we sign off, one last reminder, Jazz Fest 2.0, the second annual Jazz Fest is this weekend, 12 to 8, behind Bridge Space in downtown Lee Summit. You should come out. We had about 1,000 people last year, Vanessa. Let's see if we can break that.
You
See if we can break that record. Come on out. Enjoy some music. That'll wrap us up for this week. We'll talk to everybody next time.